In line with the introduction of the new Naira Policy, which automatically activates Section 1 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act, the federal government, through the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, has suspended cash withdrawals from all public accounts. The CEO of the NFIU Modibbo Hamman Tukur directed all public servants to open domiciliary and Naira accounts ahead of the commencement of the policy, which becomes compulsory by law. The NFIU says the move became necessary because most cash withdrawals from government accounts often exceed the cash withdrawal limit provided by the Money Laundering Act. Defaulters of this new directive will be arrested, prosecuted, and if found guilty, taken to jail. Well, joining us to discuss some rising issues from this decision-taking is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Adedotun Ajulo. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Very well.
I wonder what sense you make of this decision to, look into this aspect of withdrawals made by public offices and public office holders, so to speak. We're saying that they have to limit the withdrawals and then open domiciliary accounts on all of that. Recall again that the CBN has now reviewed the limits of cash withdrawals from 100,000 naira to 500 for individuals, and now from 500,000 naira to 5 million for organizations.
Okay, let me start by making a clarification. A proper understanding of what the NFIU boss, that's Modibbo, said is more of advisory in view of the redesign and the limitation to cash withdrawal. And as we speak, that should not be taken or be seen as law. Okay. In fact, in one of the publications that I read, it was said that the Secretary to the Government of the Federation will be advised accordingly. We need to know this, that these policies, generally, they have always been there. Right. And a lot of time, public officers, they fall into this trap, even not really minding, it's an easy thing that could happen around anybody. So it has always been there as a policy. But I think in view of the current redesign of Naira, the limit of the NFIU is coming out to emphasize, like you mentioned, the Money Laundering Prohibition Act has always provided there's this limit.
There's a limit,
in which, and again, another clarification I would love to make is the fact that, when they said federal government stop withdrawal from public accounts, no. It's simply, let's put it straight, it's simply withdrawal of cash from public accounts. And it's so funny. How do we even operate in that manner? Yeah. Whereby people are talking of ESTA code and all you have. All of this was not making any meaning to me until when I read what came up from the NFIU boss some 2-3 days ago. Like, when you look at it, the so-called ESTA code that our public officers, civil servants have been taken to travel abroad has always come in the form of cash. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you run the system in that way? Whichever way you want to look at this, these are laudable policies. These are lofty ideas to curtail. How do you run? We've had instances in this country whereby even the judiciaries, persons were arrested, and you see loads of cash in hard currencies. And when you ask them,
their homes.
When you ask them, they simply tell you, well, my ESTA code I've been taking the last 3, 4, 5 years is what I have at home as hard currencies. So it's a laudable idea. We don't. A man of my generation should be ashamed that all along, what we'll be having is cash withdrawal from public accounts to give to individuals who are public officers. So it's laudable. And they took it forward by saying, they were encouraged that, okay, whatever it is, they should have domiciliary accounts. Mm-hmm. Because let me tell you, sir, money laundering as an act, the easiest function, how it functions so easily is from all of these cash transactions that you do. There's no money that cannot be traced all over the world. Mm-hmm. But when you have cash flying and you are talking about public officers, public accounts, for goodness sake, a man of my generation is not so pleased that it took us this time, even for me to have an awareness. Before that it will make any sense to me. It took the alert from the NFIU boss some 2-3 days ago to say, come, all along. Go and read from CBN and the rest of it. You realize the amount of hard currencies in dollars that has gone out in cash. They even go as far as CBN giving money out to bureau de change in order for them to service Estacos and all of that. So it's laudable. My only fear and my only reservation in all of this is as interesting as this policy might be. I was saying to myself this morning, I'm like, well, our public or politicians, public officers, in a matter of time, you just realize there will be innovations and they will find their way. Well, let me be fair. The Nigerian thing about us, let me not limit it to public officer. I'm just wondering, I can tell you in another 1 to 3 years, everywhere become porous and there's another route into doing all of this. So, but whichever way, it is timely, it is interesting. Looking at the issue of limitation to cash withdrawal and the rest of it, I'm aware as of today, a political party is already obtaining people's account number who are going to serve as their agent in 2023. Do you know how interesting that can be? That now, to be an agent, they're already obtaining account number to say, okay, whatever it is, we have to transfer into your account. It was all about this policy. Well, in as much as I feel this should have been done long time ago, why do we have to get it here? Why do we have to get things back to this point before all of this are being introduced? I think it's timely enough.
All right, it's quite interesting. This is coming now, and like you say, I wonder why this is coming now. These are all professionals who know how these things run in other parts of the world. So when it comes to Nigeria, we should have known this thing long ago. But the point there is, it boils down back to what you were trying to be fair about, the politicians who are, of course, we have to be fair where it's not only politicians. But the issue there is that when you place different people on percentage, you weigh them. Who are those who are more involved in this thing because of the power they have, because of the influence they wield, because of sometimes unstructured nature of politicians and politics and the way they run all of these things? Sometimes you find more politicians in that basket than other people.
Very well.
So as it is, how do we make this thing more effective? Because like we know in Nigeria, policies, we have them, laws, we have them, but let us implement. How do we make this thing more effective with this policy coming now? Like you say, it's beautiful, of course. For us, we're waiting to see how the thing is going to run out. But then, how do we make it more effective?
Well, it takes the impact, it takes the influence of persons who have the guts to do the needful. We already have, like you said, we already have agencies. Let me tell you, the provision of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act, even the 2022, is quite very efficient and strict. As a lawyer, I can tell you for free that if indeed you are charged of that Money Laundering Act with that fact, it will be very, very difficult for you to skate through. You saw recently the case of Donyo Okupe, and you even saw the case of a former governor alongside a company and an individual. I think Oji Uzokalia. Yeah. You see, the provisions of that provision is so strict. In fact, I classify it as a strict liability kind of a law or rules, whereby the moment you are in for it, it's very, very difficult. Because it's so, the simplicity is telling you, come. You should not receive, you should not give an amount in excess of 5 million naira.
Yes.
So what is your explanation for having 5 million 100 naira?
Exactly.
You understand? So
5 million 100 naira.
It just takes the guts of individuals who we empower, who are appointed to do this and all of that. You see, if the NFIU, for as a person, honestly speaking, I've become more interested in following through and looking at how the NFIU boss intend to go about this. So it takes the guts, nothing more. It takes just you and I. If the man is empowered, The agency is empowered to do the needful when it comes to this. So if somebody will just stand out gut and understand that, the interest of the country is paramount, the interest of the country is the interest of the country comes first in placing my unborn generation, then we are good to go. Without that, it will just be it will be the noise making as usual. Because let me tell you, we've mentioned something about the politician. Even the United Nations have come to acknowledge there is a big nexus between money laundering and, like I said, the easiest way of doing this is nothing but this cash withdrawal and the rest of it. There is a big nexus between money laundering and even act of terrorism. Nexus between money laundering and the drug peddling and all of that. And to what end? The moment, let me tell you, when you have money coming into your hand, funds that came into your hand, and you need to you need to protect the origin. You see, that process is what is money laundering itself. And you are in trying to protect the origin, people do a lot of things. You want this money to go as far as you hear people saying, okay, you know what? Do a transfer over there in Qatar into so-so-so account. The cash will be made available here in Nigeria at a reduced rate. When you are doing all of that, whatever that fund resources is going in for is no more of interest to them. All you are interested as a politician is to cover that shade off. Let it not be that the source, the origin of this fund is known. And you see them handling cash there. Yeah. They do it, they disguise under so many means, some NGO, through religion and the rest of it. The end of all of that, you don't know. If this fund in question is going to end in the hand of Boko Haram and the rest of it, it's no longer of a business to them. And take it, let's look at it from this, let's look at it from this way again. When you have our politicians in an effort, in an attempt to secure their base, of course, they recruit persons, individuals, the willing to, and all of that. These are people that build up in. So the issue of cash withdrawal of any kind, either talking about the public officers or even talking about individuals, business person in Nigeria, cannot be more laudable than we have it. You cannot be bold enough as a kidnapper. I've not heard of it, that a single kidnapper from the issue of kidnapping we've had in this country will say, okay, come, that ransom we want to pay, make it true, so as account. So all we just need is the guts, somebody who can just stand up to it. We're in this country, and Inspector General of Police was arrested, prosecuted. It took guts. I don't know you're getting it. So if we have persons who are just ready, who knows how much, the laws are there, they are efficient, they are very, very strict enough. So it just takes you and I, it takes persons who are appointed. It is not enough for NFIU to have just mentioned what they mentioned. It's laudable. I love it, reading through it. Like he said, he's going to pass it across to the SGF, and they take it up there. So it's their guts, it's their determination to do the needful. And I think whatever it is going to be quite effective.
Right. Speaking about its effectiveness, you mentioned earlier the matter of doing with the case that just happened recently. And one thing critical to this matter is the aspect of the judicial system. Also, being a part of the whole process. How crucial it is to ensuring the effectiveness of this decision by the NFIU. We see how processes go. They say the wheel of justice grinds slowly. When it comes to our processes in this country, it grinds really slow, really, really slow. How do we address that aspect to ensuring the effectiveness of this matter?
Well, when it comes to how slow the judicial system, matters in our court are built, looking at it from the effectiveness of whatever it is as a policy that's coming up. Well, every of our setback, every of our issues in this country is quite interwoven. It's quite interwoven, and I might not be able to tell you. I might not be able to tell you boldly, this is what needs to be done.
Why not?
Yeah, well, I'm in the sense that, like I've mentioned to you, the issue of matters being slow in our court and the rest of it is about the entire system. I traveled out of Lagos for a matter recently, outside Lagos, and lo and behold, I got to the court, and the persons were not brought from prison. When I inquired, they said there was no fuel to transport from prison to. So how do you look at all of this without looking at our problem as Nigeria? So going into that would just mean we are going into this should not be capable to address it. So our issues are interwoven. There is nothing. See, it is never about the judge. It is never about the judge. In fact, sometimes it is okay for the man in prison, for the prison warder who is bringing someone to court, who could not access fuel at the filling station. How is that supposed to be his problem? So that is the Nigerian thing that I doubt if my will be able to address. In fact, I will really wish that this issue of their policy about limitation to cash withdrawal and all of that, the information is being disseminated. The campaign should be taken. Let me tell you, even for educated persons, the impression most people have is that federal government is saying you can't withdraw more than 500,000. That's the impression, even educated persons, some educated persons, because we have this attitude of not reading into
the details of
that.
Yeah.
So we need to take this thing out there. We need to realize that majority of our people are not. Yes, we are a developing nation, whatever you want to, whichever way you want to look at it, are not in proper understanding. Like my mother in the village, my grandmother, and all of that. Proper. So we must do more as a government to take this thing down there. I've always emphasized it. I know we used to have National Orientation Agency in this country.
Have them.
Okay, very well. I will do my research. So I'm sorry. I will do my research. I will do my research after now.
She used that as a sarcasm.
Very well. So because the thing is this communication are not being properly taken out there. I'm concerned. People believe that your money now, as far as you are concerned, you cannot make withdrawal more than 500,000. No. What we are just trying to encourage, they are saying cashless policy. In the sense that people can even they are introducing e-wallets, whereby it doesn't have to be the proper banking thing.
Exactly.
Like today you have the Kuda, you have so many of these e-wallets, whereby you are in the village, you can easily, it is for our good, it is for our safety, it is for our security. That is how to run a proper country, not a country whereby you are having almost 50% of the money in circulation. 85% of the money in circulation in people's liquidity. How do we even survive to this point as a country? You understand? So everything is about us. Talking about the judiciary, like how long it takes and the rest of it, is nothing about us. Okay, let me take you to the case of Oji's Okalu that I mentioned earlier. He has his conviction, going by the Money Laundering Act. He has his conviction, Federal High Court, has his conviction, Court of Appeal, has his conviction, Court of Appeal. And do you know why the man is still working freely? It was simply because of a technical issue. Like, okay, the judge who gave judgment at the cost of first instance, that's Federal High Court, was elevated to Court of Appeal. While he was being elevated to Court of Appeal, he came back to the Federal High Court because he has been doing this matter for years. He came back to the Court of Appeal after being elevated, he has ceased being a judge of Federal High Court. So he doesn't have to come back to come and give judgment in either you like it or not, technicality or not. That is our law.
Wow.
And that is the basis whereby the Supreme Court now said, go back. The matter that lasted in court for over 10 years, they have to go and retry it. There should be a retrial from beginning to the. Who is that person that not going to be tired? Some of the witnesses you have them, you may not even have them alive.
Yes.
Some of them, they have japa in the way they
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So these are the things. That's why I said when you want to discuss it from that
Judicial
issues are complex.
And they are complex, they are interwoven. These are issues that there's nothing you can do about it. Like, except that must just be this approach from all areas, from all angles to say, okay, let us take this head on. And, we are hopeful. We are going to have change of government very soon.
Ultimately, the issue of enlightenment cannot be overemphasized.
Yes.
And I recall in elementary schools, we talk about moral suasion, keep talking to people so that people can be enlightened. In fact, just weeks ago, my mom called to say, hey, you people are in the media. This limitation that CBN is talking about, we the poor people, they want to. I said, no, Mom, let me explain this thing to you, and I broke it down to her.
Wow.
She said, oh, is that what the thing is? I said, yes. This thing is. In fact, Nigeria is one of the last countries trying to implement this thing.
Well.
You travel to other African countries, little younger countries than us. They have all of these things in place, but. Let's come back to the issue of TSA. When this government administration came on board in 2015, they made us understand that TSA was going to handle a lot of these things, where the Treasury single account, government will have just one account, all money is going to it from all ministries, or whatever the thing is, all money is going to it. Any money that comes out of it, everybody is aware, and then it will check laundering, it will check liquidity, it will check a lot of things, inflation and so on. But here we are. What is the place of TSA in all of this thing?
Like I've expressed earlier.
Oh, it's complex.
So apart from being complex, I've expressed something to you earlier. Not even minding, as impressive as it is for whatever the NFIU boss is coming up with. Because, reading through it, and I'm like, oh, indeed, this ought to have been in place. And I just said to myself, whichever way you want to look at it, in another 1 year, 6 months, 1 year, our people find a way around everything. Yes, let's assume NFIU is coming up with their very big amount, sledgehammer, and all of that. But politicians, they will always, that thing about Nigeria, and another this thing, they find a way around it. Then again, we should be able to separate it. When you are talking about the TSA, what we are looking at is withdrawal. The TSA never addressed the issue of giving extra code, giving cash. Public accounts, you withdraw, CBN, give money to Bureau de Change, they pass it in cash to public officers. It has never been addressed by TSA. So these are the issues. Yes, as laudable as these policies might be, the concern is the Nigerian thing that happened aftermath.
Beating the system.
There is always this way they go about it. There is always this way they go about it. But I'm impressed. I'm very optimistic.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, let it keep coming in terms of policies, in terms of idea. Let it keep coming.
Right.
It will come to people's consciousness. We can find, before you know, there might be organizations, NGOs that will spring up to like, oh, okay, you said this to Nigeria so time. We want to see how effective it is now. Before you know.
Now.
So we're happy that it's coming. Whatever way, we're happy that.
All right.
We'll leave the conversation here. Lawyer and public affairs analyst Adedotun Ajulo, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you for coming.